opening and some kind of tech coming out from ELFI.
Alright, so let's see if that ends up being the case. I think, well, the second gateway is almost never a bad idea here, just able to get those stalkers out a little bit quicker. NightEnD indeed going to be going for that kind of play. And you're right, we don't see another gateway coming down from ELFI here. We have the Mothership Core on its way as well. But this really frustrating probe from NightEnD is going to continue to scout out everything inside the main. At least for a couple more seconds. I wonder if he's going to try and come back in for a second pass or if he wants to preserve it, because the Stargate's just come down, so if NightEnD just moves all the way back in a second time, he might be able to get it scouted, but the Stalker now from ELFI is going to prevent that.
Now, ELFI, with this Stargate, has a couple of different options. One, it could be an Oracle, two, it could be Phoenix, or three, it could be Voidways. What do you reckon are the pros and cons of each of those, JoRoSaR?
I think that in this particular game, it's unlikely for us to see ELFI go for those Void Rays. I suspect it's going to be Phoenixes. I think that's the more stable of all of the openers. Void Rays are more possible. I'd be very surprised if we saw Oracles. They tend to work better when there's a bit of a skill mismatch and you're feeling incredibly confident. But wow, seriously, like you basically build oracles when you're confident that your micro is good enough that your opponent is going to be able to keep them away from the base. This is a little bit of a gamble from ELFI. He will be able to send them across and try and get these workers killed, but in all seriousness, Maddles, I think NightEnD is a good enough player to hopefully stop these oracles before they kill off too many workers, and it's really down to ELFI now to make this worth it for him, if that makes sense. So I'm honestly slightly surprised, and we have a hallucinated Phoenix going out across the map as well, so if this sees the Stargate as well.
It didn't see the Oracle though, it was very
close.
No,
it won't see the Oracle.
That's fine. That makes me happier. The Stalkers are trying to get baited down by ELFI here at the moment, and it is going to be quite important. And here they go, there's the Stalkers coming down, and the Oracle's now going to come in and deal a lot of damage to the probe line.
Why aren't the Stalkers coming back? Okay, they are now. Number of kills on the Oracle, 5. I'd say, ooh, wow, and okay, so here's what happened there. ELFI has taken a massive risk going with the Oracles. 5 kills on the first one, I think might end up making this worth it for him, especially if he goes in and manages to do a lot of follow-up damage against the natural as well. I think that combined with NightEnD being greedy and grabbing the natural expansion could prove to be really frustrating for him. Especially if the Oracles take out a sentry or two as well, I mean, that could just be fantastic.
Well, in they come now. They've got to be a bit careful though, because there are Stalkers sitting around. Time Warp's being used. Photon Overcharge, remember, was triggered pretty early on. The Immortal getting focused by both the Oracles and the remaining Stalkers on the ground. ELFI gonna get the Mothership Core. Nice little win there, as well as picking off a couple more workers. Now 7 probes ahead. This natural getting pretty damn low.
No, it's gonna go down. He needed to really do a lot more damage with the Immortal there. And I don't know, I mean, I feel like the Oracle didn't need to do that much damage. I genuinely believe that NightEnD might have been able to hold it up, but this follow-up from ELFI, for lack of a better phrase, Maddles, just looks so fluid.
It was brilliant. He distracted his opponent by pushing in towards the natural, pulling all the Stalkers down before moving up into the main with that first Oracle, and that's where the damage really got done. But there are now more Immortals coming down on the field. It's going to make it a bit more challenging for ELFI to do too much here. We do see a force field getting shut down. The one thing missing though is much anti-air, so this third Oracle down on the field making its way forward could potentially do some nice damage. There are some Stalkers staying in the back though, keeping things on the safe there, but it's the Immortals that are going to be hard to punch through.
Yeah, NightEnD, I'll be honest, there are a couple of things he could have done this game which would have meant the Oracles did a lot less damage. In particular, the Mothership Core just not being there with Photon Overcharge as the first Oracle went in. What was probably the difference between about 3 probes being killed, to be honest. If he activated that straight away, then I really don't think ELFI could have done much damage at all. But the follow-up push, let's talk about that, Maddles, because it was executed by ELFI so damn well, and I think we need to give that credit.
Yeah, he just put on the pressure a little bit. He did that initial bit of damage. He then used the 2 Oracles in order to focus down some key units, get a little bit of extra damage done. But he also had so many Stalkers there. The big thing as well is because Photon Overcharge was triggered on the main Nexus in order to really fend off that first Oracle that did some nice damage, it wasn't available at the natural. And one of the key things if you want to secure up your natural nexus early on in PvP is to make sure that you use that Photon Overcharge. It's your biggest option. Now, love this here by ELFi, finding these two Zealots warping down on the low ground here, probably going with us around later, picking them up pretty damn quick, but he has got himself into a bit of a tight spot, but force fields near perfectly, and that means 2 Immortals all on their lonesome.
And that's going to force ELFi now to recall home. But in this time, we've been speaking, of course, ELFi managing to get his natural expansion down as well. So NightEnD very much behind as far as that economy goes. He is going to be retaking his natural, but he's behind 34 to 27 workers. Ideally, he wants to try and maybe do a little bit of a poke here. He has enough Immortals that on the ground he is a force to be reckoned with, even though his sheer army size isn't quite as large as ELFi's. But I feel like NightEnD just has to make something happen at this point in the game.
He's in a tough spot though, because this Oracle still poking around, trying to be a little bit annoying, deal some harassment. And back at home, while you're completely right in saying that the Immortals are adding a lot, there's Void Rays coming out for ELFi, and those Void Rays are going to shred through the Stalkers very quickly, of which there's only one. And then we'll have no trouble dealing with the Immortals, which thank goodness cannot shoot up.
Yeah, if they did, then I think this game would be over in NightEnd's favor. Pretty powerful units coming out across the field here. Good amount of energy on the Mothership Core as well. We have 2 more gateways coming in from behind to try and bolster this attack. And, well, we'll see what ends up happening. We have the Twilight Council about to complete for NightEnd now. Just a couple of Stalkers remaining inside his main base in case additional harassment from the Oracles comes in. He knows that there's at least one more flying around the map here. And, ELFi, I mean, he's just going to be sitting back by the looks of things at this point. He feels pretty confident that as long as he can hold off this push, he's ahead. And given the amount of time he blocked that natural expansion from NightEnd, I dare say he'd be correct.
Yeah, his income is just skyrocketing. He's mining over double the resources of his opponent, and just look at ELFi's force now making its way forward. It's these Void Rays. They are the key piece to the puzzle in order for ELFi to be able to engage really well. Plus, he's got his own Immortal. All he's got to deal with is that for the moment, NightEnd has a grand total of 4 Stalkers, now 3. He can deal so much damage. The Mothership Core does get taken out. Revelation chucked down on those units, so now ELFi has a great view of everything that his opponent's doing. A couple of Archons going to make it into the mix, and I do like that.
Okay, so I thought that those 3 Stalkers in the main were different from 3 Stalkers that were part of the original army, but clearly not, because against these Void Rays, actually, NightEnd's really going to struggle here, and that's why he desperately needs the Archons. There are now too many Void Rays to combat units that can shoot up, and that's going to give ELFi the victory. I thought NightEnd had 3 more Stalkers than he actually did there, while we were taking a look at the main base, waiting for the Oracle to come back in, but it looks like the switch up into Void Rays from ELFi was just too much.